Lord Jesus Christ spoke to his disciples about fields white unto the harvest. Here they are. These are some of the fields in the Diocese of Virginia which are white unto the harvest today. These rows of houses represent people. They represent children. People whose spiritual needs cannot be neglected. Children for whom Christian nurture and education must be provided. If the church fails these people, it then fails to live up to the commandment of our Lord. In the past few years, our Bishop, Frederick Goodwin, has seen this tremendous growth take place in the Diocese of Virginia.
Scenes such as this are to be found all over the diocese today. Let's take a look at a map and see where all this is taking place. Here is the Diocese of Virginia, from the Alleghenies to the Tidewater, from the James to the Potomac rivers. Need for the church to expand is felt all over the diocese, especially in the areas around Winchester, Culpeper, Charlottesville, Fredericksburg, Richmond, and Alexandria. Our diocese today is being confronted with missionary opportunities which we could scarcely have imagined a generation ago. A new chapter is opening for us in our history. Recently, through the Virginia Plan of Stewardship, we have been learning that gratitude and thankfulness are the only proper Christian motives for giving. For this reason, we have substituted the spirit of the general thanksgiving for the cold, hard facts of a parish budget. We have taken thanksgiving to God as the theme of our every member canvass. When we are truly grateful to God for all that he has given to us, we cannot help wanting to share that thankfulness with others. But we must also have a plan for the right and wise use of what we give to God. In order that you may better understand and appreciate the wonderful opportunities that the Episcopal Church has all over the diocese, and see something of the way in which we have tried to meet these needs, I'm going to ask Bishop Gibson to show you something of the growth of one particular church or congregation. We have many such churches through the diocese. This is just a typical example.
Here is the story of a church located in one of the new communities in Fairfax County, 4 miles down the Potomac River south of Alexandria, almost in the shadow of Mount Vernon. It is called St. Luke's, Wellington. To understand fully the story of St. Luke's, it is necessary to go back more than 20 years and tell you how it all began. Back in 1932, St. Luke's was a tiny mission served by students from the Virginia Seminary. There they ministered to a few scattered families who lived by the riverside and on the surrounding farms. After the end of World War II, demands for housing increased. Residents of the Washington area discovered Wellington. It was ideal for home sites. When restrictions were taken off building materials, hundreds of houses began to be built. Hundreds of families moved into the area around St. Luke's. Now it was the center of a growing community, the only church for miles. This is what St. Luke's looked like in that post-war period. People flocked to church. Sunday school classes were overcrowded. I even saw them meeting outside in station wagons. St. Luke's had become not only a church, but a constantly used center for the activities of the entire community. Faced with this situation, the congregation took action, and happily the diocese was able to do its part. In 1950, a deacon was assigned to St. Luke's, its first full-time minister. Diocesan funds supplied the first quarter of the total amount needed to begin work on an addition to the church. These diocesan funds enabled the people to raise the remaining 3/4.
The fulfillment of the hopes of both the diocese and congregation was the dedication of the new St. Luke's Church in May 1952. This venture of faith has been met by the response of increasing numbers of people all over the area. Here men, women, parents, and children come to church and church schools. giving of their lives in worship, in Christian education, in praise and prayer, and the preaching of the Word, growing as a new church family in the Diocese of Virginia. Since 1952, when there were only 200 church families, St. Luke's has grown to over 400 families and the care of more than 1,200 persons by the church. The need for the church was here. You people all over the diocese saw the need and answered the challenge with your gifts. Today, as a result, a new, independent, self-supporting church is added to our diocesan family.
Now let me emphasize, diocesan extension funds made this possible. And these same funds made possible much more church construction. For example, St. Asaph's Bowling Green, St. Matthew's, Richmond, St. Andrew's, Arlington, Christ Church, Luray, St. Paul's, Bailey's Crossroads, the Church of the Messiah, Highland Springs. All this gives cause for rejoicing, but in Christian frankness we must admit that all that we have done has never been enough. In some new communities we have had to delay meeting the opportunities which were there until long after decisive action was called for. And there are still areas of great promise and need where we have not yet begun any work for the Episcopal Church. Surely God is calling us to do much more in His service than we have done so far. I could be equally graphic in telling you of other rapidly growing areas in which the efforts of congregations must be encouraged with diocesan funds. What you have seen illustrated in some churches could be repeated throughout the diocese. For instance, here is a church site, but no building as yet. And here are people worshiping in a small rented apartment. This congregation has outgrown its church. And here are people meeting in a school until funds are available for their new church. This growing church desperately needs a parish house. All that these situations need is enough help from the diocese to grasp the opportunities which face them. In every one of these new areas there are people who are being reached by no church, children who go to no Sunday school, families who are not being taught what it means to be thankful for God's boundless grace and love. This is why we make a missionary appeal for church extension. We must provide in our pledges at every member canvass time and in the operating budgets of our churches definite amounts for the extension of Christ's kingdom in the new communities of our diocese. There should be no doubt in the mind of anyone that the needs and possibilities of missionary expansion in the Diocese of Virginia are unlimited.
Possibilities unlimited. Bringing God and His church into the lives of people. This has happened for you. Will you not help to make it possible for others? This then is our challenge. Before us is the very practical, down-to-earth opportunity and privilege for people to include in their pledges and vestries to include in their budgets a generous amount for church extension.
Now we have heard the story of what God is calling us to do. In responding to His call, we show that we are thankful for all that He has done for us, thankful, as we say in family prayer, for our health, friends, food, and raiment, and above all, for sending His Son into the world.
Today in the Diocese of Virginia, our fields are white unto the harvest. We are depending on you to do your share.
Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to our AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show that I am pre-recording the night before because I'm going to be helping move furniture today. So the mundanity of the AV Geeks, we're always schlepping something, and today it's furniture. Anyways, that last film, White Unto the Harvest, was an interesting little thing. I can't remember. I feel like I got that on eBay, and I like collecting church films because I grew up in an Episcopal church and a Lutheran church, and so those things, they resonate in the back of my head. And the color in this is just stunning. It's beautiful footage. So that was the other reason that I really liked it. Around the same time, I got this film. I got a couple of films, Hammond organ films. And this one, the color's really faded, and we transferred it. We didn't do a great job, so I really want to retransfer this again. It's called Music to Live By, and this is a promotional film. It's the result of this. This is a commercial for you to buy a Hammond organ at the end of the film. So here we go. Music to Live By.
I'm Judd Taylor of the Hammond Organ Company, and I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about music and its place in your life. You know, for most of us these days, life is pretty hectic. Today's world is a busy world, hustling, bustling, always on the go. And it gets to be a pretty tense world, too, with stress and strains, people, problems, pressure on all sides, tension at every turn. Ours has been called the age of conformity, and maybe for a good reason. We usually do what the other guy does. It's easier to go along with the crowd, even when we might feel a little foolish doing so. Doing things en masse tends to make us fairly passive these days, too. Our recreation habits show the signs of our mass culture, with an emphasis on the kind of events we can just sit around and watch. But yet, even in the midst of all these external pressures, for millions of American families today, the home has come to be an increasingly important center for family activity. A thoughtful home represents the one place where the family can always be together, where they can enjoy the abundance that our way of life has brought. Of all the elements that make the home the center of family life, music is the most important. You can find transistor radios everywhere, and the growing popularity of FM and portable record players give evidence of the need for music in our daily lives. Yet there is a limit to just how much music we can passively absorb. After all, music should be something more than just a background for other activities. Music is participation. It's a dynamic, exciting, rewarding experience. And for family participation, nothing can compare with the family instrument, the Hammond organ. Now, at first glance, you might think that the organ is a very complicated-looking instrument, but sometimes looks can be deceiving. One of the reasons that the organ looks so difficult is because it has a lot of devices built into it that actually make it easy to play. As a matter of fact, the organ is one of the easiest of all instruments to learn how to play. The main reason for this simplicity is sustained tone. When you press a key, any key, a beautiful tone is sounded until the key is released. The organ creates the sound, not the organist. It takes training and practice on any other instrument just to play one note well. But on the organ, the finest professional organist can't make this one note sound any better than a beginner can. That's why a beginner sounds professional right from the start. Now, another reason it's so easy to play the Hammond organ is the method by which the volume is controlled. It's kind of like driving a car. When you want to go faster, you step on the gas pedal. On the organ, when you want to play louder or softer, you step on this pedal. and press it down. We call it the expression pedal. Many people think the organ must be difficult because it has 2 keyboards. Not so at all. You see, the organ is much like an orchestra. In an orchestra, the melody might be played by a trumpet, while the rest of the orchestra plays nice and soft as a background or an accompaniment. Now on the organ, you can't play a trumpet loud and clear on one end of the manual, while you have soft violins at the other end, so they provided 2 keyboards. On the organ, the melody is played on the upper keyboard, loud and full. The accompaniment is played on the lower keyboard, soft and rich. There's even a 3rd keyboard called the pedal board. It plays the bass notes, just like the bass fiddle in the orchestra. Even if you've never played a note before in your life, you and every member of your family can enjoy the thrill of creating music the very first time you sit down at the Hammond organ. Let's take a familiar song like "Merrily We Roll Along" to show you how really easy it is. You play the melody 1 finger at a time on the upper keyboard, just as the solo instrument plays the melody in the orchestra. We'll use this handy note finder so it's easy to find the notes. Now the accompaniment is played on the lower keyboard. We'll use this handy chord finder so that the beginner can immediately find the 2 chords to play. In this particular tune, we play a C and a G as an accompaniment, soft and rich. Then you add the bass by playing the pedal keyboard, and you add depth, body, and rhythm, just as a bass violin or tuba does for an orchestra. Notice the pedal markers, a big help for the beginner. As you can see, each of the 3 elements of the organ are quite easy in themselves. Putting them together isn't difficult at all. That was easy, wasn't it? You can sound exactly like that after your first 10 or 15 minutes at the organ. Now the difference between the organ and all other instruments lies in the fact that you can vary the tones. That's what all these controls do. Let you call upon the different instruments of the orchestra. You can get the sound you want when you want them. Thousands of different tones. That's the most fun in playing the organ. Touch a tab or change these exclusive drawbars, and even a beginning song takes on new excitement and flavor. Here's "Merrily We Roll Along" with a different sound. Do you like strings? Listen to this. Touch another tab, and you can make it sound like a beautiful church organ. Want a banjo with rhythm accompaniment? Just press a couple of more tabs. You can be playing like that in just a few short weeks, thanks to the new exclusive Hammond organ course, which assures you of learning the fastest, easiest, best way possible. It's a revolutionary new concept in organ instruction, developed by teachers and professional music educators. There are 4 student manuals with a wealth of study materials, programmed to answer all pertinent musical questions. There are memory cards, keyboard guides, pedal markers, everything the family needs to play and learn together, and everything you need to start you on a lifetime of musical pleasure. There's a comprehensive handbook, the appendix, with clear details about the fundamentals of music. Everything you need for a complete musical education on the Hammond organ. It covers all the material from the beginner to the more mature, advanced student. There are 100 specially arranged solo pieces with suggested registrations for all models of the Hammond organ. Depending upon your ability, interest, and application, you can be playing When the Saints Go Marching In about 2 weeks, like this. And in about 4 weeks, you'll be playing Drink to Me Only with Thine Eyes, like this. And as you come to the conclusion of the first semester, in about 6 to 8 weeks, you should be playing In the Good Old Summertime with rhythm accompaniment, like this. By the time you've finished the course in from 6 to 8 months, you'll have 100 songs in your repertoire, and you'll be able to play each one in many different ways. Now, as for the children's musical education, there's no more ideal instrument on which to start than the organ. Children gain a basic foundation in music that will last their entire lives, because the organ is more like an orchestra than a single sounding instrument. And with all the variation of tone and expression at their fingertips, children seem to enjoy practicing. You're never too young or too old to enjoy the thrilling experience of creating your very own beautiful music, starting with the very first time you sit down at a Hammond. Your Hammond dealer has a complete line of instruments, ranging from this modestly priced compact spinet organ through this medium-priced full-size console up to this beautiful deluxe home model. He'll help you decide which instrument is best suited to your musical needs and, of course, your budget. So why not let him bring music, Hammond organ music, into your life right now?
Pretty compelling. Some of you are probably close to my age or are older, and you remember the organ store at the mall. You go to the mall, and a salesperson would be playing the organ, or they would let people play the organ and show the easy one-touch method and all that. I fondly remember that, the sound of the organ echoing through the mall. So, yeah. I like that a lot. And I actually, I have an organ here at the house that we turn on and just kind of hit the chords and wash dishes to and cook to sometimes when we're bored. Yeah. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Skip Elsheimer, and I collect old 16mm films, and I show them to folks like you. And if you like what you see, you can certainly buy us coffee. That is the one currency that works really well. Caffeine is what stimulates our brains and makes me trudge on and open up rusty cans and transfer them and stuff like that. So caffeine and coffee is one way you can buy us that and reward us or punish us. You can also hit like and subscribe, or go to avgeeks.com and see other stuff that we have online that we've been digitizing for the last 10 or so years. This next film is a safety film, and again, the color on this was kind of faded. We tried to bring it back, but it's all right. But here's 10 long minutes.
Hi, Mike.
Well, Fred, how come?
How come what?
Were you here at work on Saturday morning? I thought you said you were going up to the cottage this weekend.
Now, you haven't seen the work our department's got to get out next week. We're putting in a little overtime to get a start on it. I sent Agnes and the kids up by themselves.
Oh?
It's only 120 miles. Agnes can drive it easy. Get the kids out for some fun.
Yeah, while you work.
Well, tonight, I'm going to sit around and watch TV. All my own programs for the whole evening. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to have the baseball game on, and peace and quiet. No little duties around the house.
Oh, that's some deal.
How come you're working today?
Oh, the safety department always has things to set up around the plant. After all, our program goes on all the time.
Well, I'll see you.
Yeah, see you later.
Hey, Fred. Hey, what have you been doing, Fred?
Doing? Why? What do you mean?
Why, the police are looking for you.
For me?
Yeah?
Who you kidding?
Oh, no, I mean it. The squad car just drove up. They couldn't get you at your home, and your next-door neighbor said you might be here at the plant. Here's a number you're supposed to call. Longview 1313.
Longview? Let me see that. What'd they say?
You just call that number.
Holy smoke.
What's the matter?
Well, that's only about 20 miles this side of our place on the lake.
Huh? What is?
Agnes and the kids. I want to call Longview, operator. Longview 1313. Yes, that's right. We're tired.
Well, I suppose you could drive around town all right, but I sure wouldn't take that tire out on the road.
Oh, yes? You can't. Why not? The circuits are busy. Oh, well, try again as soon as you can, will you? GR5 9834. Now. Yes, I will. Thanks.
What is it, Fred?
I don't know yet. I'm going to call back. The wife and the kids started out in the car for our place on the lake this morning. Something must have happened, that's all I can figure out. But what?
Well, it might be something else the police want to get in touch with you about.
Well, what else could it be?
Well, don't try to make anything up. It might be nothing at all. Wait till you hear. That's the best way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. Oh. Hello? Yes. This is Fred Cook. I'd like... Who? Sergeant Myers? Oh, can I talk to him, please? On where? Fairview Hospital. Oh, yeah, I'll call him there. Operator, can you get me Fairview Hospital? Yes, I'd like to talk to Sergeant Myers of the Fairview Police there. Hurry. Yeah. All right, I'll be right here at the same number, at GR59834. Yeah. Oh, can I use your pencil?
Yeah. Here.
Sergeant Myers.
Now take it easy, Fred. Don't get yourself all upset. Come on, let's have a cup of coffee. What time did your family leave this morning?
Huh? Oh, well, they got themselves up early. Left at 5:30 to get away from the traffic.
Well, then they more than likely arrived by 9:30 at the latest. Here. This is probably something else, not a wreck on the road.
Now, what else? If they're already there... Hey, those boards are in bad shape. Could be dangerous for the kids. Hello. Yes, it is, operator. Thank you. Hello. I'd like to talk... He isn't. He's expected, isn't he? Oh, I see. But well, all right, have him call me as soon as he comes in. GR59834. Yes. Oh, do you happen to know if anyone named Cook has been brought in?
I'm sorry, you'll have to get that information upstairs. This is the emergency room. Would you like me to switch you to the admissions desk?
Well, no, I'll wait for Sergeant Myers to get there and call me. Yeah, thank you.
Fred, look, why don't you take it easy till you find out what's up? Maybe you'd better stay away from your machine for a while till, well, for your own good. While you're worrying about your family, you're not thinking about yourself.
You're right. And I want to be handy here for that phone call anyway. What do you suppose happened?
Have a smoke.
Oh, thanks. Yes, it is. Is this Sergeant Myers?
Yeah. Listen, Cook, you're a hard guy to find. I'm at the hospital on an accident investigation. What I want to tell you is that I put your wife on the bus at Jackson Corners, and she should be up at your place at the lake in about a half an hour or so.
What happened?
Well, the garage said they'd get the car out to her this afternoon.
What about the kids? They're okay? Huh? I need a couple of new what? Oh, yeah, tires. Well, sure I do. I mean, I want to get whatever I need. Oh, well, what happened?
Well, I pulled up behind your car on the shoulder, and the road service man said there were only 3 usable tires left on it. So it was stalled there until he could go back to the garage and get another tire. And your wife didn't know what to do. She was afraid you'd be worried about her and the kids if she didn't call at noon like she said she would. And she didn't know whether you'd want to buy tires or what. So I put in a call for you and took him to the bus that goes up to the lake.
Well, I sure appreciate it.
Incidentally, what kind of tires were those to send a wife and family out on the road with? That spare wasn't much. It went flat just as soon as we put weight on it. You know, tires like those aren't safe even in town. You're lucky you still got a family. You know you got to be careful everywhere, all the time.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Sergeant. Yeah, well, thanks. Thanks for everything. Bye. Oh, Mike, have I got a safety story for you?
Yeah?
Remember me telling you about Agnes and the kids going up to our place on the lake this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Guess who was looking for me at 11 o'clock? The police.
Police?
Yeah.
I like it's a little Twilight Zone-esque. His imagination starts taking the best of him, and he starts seeing all these things, and he's haunted by them. And that's the sign of a good safety film, in my mind, is the visions of what could potentially happen. This next film is it's about firemen, and this is the second edition of this film. So here's Firemen. Enjoy.
This is the beginning of an exciting day for fireman Tom Briggs. "Good luck, Tom," shouts Mrs. Briggs. Tom's just finished a year's training with this fire company. Today, he is starting as Firefighter First Class of Fire Department Station 1. Tom's getting in just in time to join the other firemen, now taking the place of men who have been on duty all night. It's almost 8 a.m. Inspection time for Fire Marshal Jim Dorbin. The Fire Marshal is reviewing the day shift of firefighters. "All right, company," he says. "You can go ahead." Captain Drake is the duty officer for today. He leads Tom to the aerial ladder truck. "Take over," he says. Tom will be Tillerman. His job is to steer the rear wheels of the huge ladder truck. The truck is so long that it needs 2 men to operate it. The tillerman in the rear and the driver in front. Just now, the driver's checking the engine of the big truck to be sure it's working all right. All the firefighting equipment must be inspected every day and each part cleaned and polished, always ready to go just the minute the fire alarm comes in. Whenever they have time, firemen practice what they might have to do in fighting a fire. The aerial ladder is built to reach high places on tall buildings. See the 3 ladders, one placed inside the other? They can be extended and turned with the help of a few levers. But firemen use hand ladders too. Sometimes there's no room for the huge ladder truck. Then hand ladders must be used. Here comes Tom. He's carrying a hose roller on his back. His partner carries the rope. Down goes the rope. And up goes the nozzle. The hose roller makes it easy for Tom to pull up the heavy hose. Here's another way to get a heavy hose to the roof. The firemen carry it with the help of hose straps. These firemen practice saving a man's life. One of them makes believe that he is overcome by smoke. Captain Drake shows them how to give oxygen to a smoke victim. The machine forces oxygen into the lungs and pulls out the bad air. Other firemen practice life-saving with a life net. Firemen often save lives this way at a real fire. What's this? It looks like a fire. Will anyone see it? A watchful policeman notices the smoke. Quickly he calls in the alarm over the police radio.
Alarm, 3rd and Main. Alarm, 3rd and Main. Alarm, 3rd and Main.
Real work for the firemen now. Onto the engines, onto the trucks. Boots on, helmets on, everyone to his place. Tom's rushing up to his tillerman's seat. He gives a signal to the engineer, which means, I'm ready. And already the doors are opening. The chief's car is out and away first. The 2 engine companies follow. Our big area ladder truck is last. 90 seconds after the alarm, and they're on their way. All traffic stops. The siren shrieks, "Clear the way, here come the firefighters." They must hurry. The fire doesn't wait. That's why fire engines may go through red lights on their way to a fire. But firemen always drive very carefully. Tom's keeping a firm hand on the tiller. Round the corner goes the big aerial ladder truck. And round another corner again. One minute after leaving the firehouse, and just 2.5 minutes after the alarm was turned in, the firemen are at the fire. Hand ladders up to the 2nd floor. First engine company, move up. Carry up that hose, boys. 2nd engine company, pull up closer. Take the ladder truck to the rear of the house. Connect the hose to the water hydrant. Open up. The water rushes into the pumpers. The engineer puts the pumps in operation. Gradually opens the valves. The hoses swell as the water rushes through them. And already the spray is cooling the flame. but the fire is spreading to the roof. Little Judy and her parents are very worried. Will the firemen save their home? Marshal Dorband orders the area ladder up. Carefully, the engineer lowers the heavy ladder so it doesn't crush the roof. Up goes Tom, just as he did at Fire Drill. Step up the pressure. More water in through the windows. More pressure. More water up to the roof. Tom's opening a hole in the roof to release smoke and heat from the attic. Smoke's rushing up through the hole. Tom cuts another hole to let more heat out. Now the engine pumps with full force. Firemen with smoke masks go inside to see if all the fire has been put out. The fire seems to be dying down. Firefighter Tom and Captain Drake are happy that they could save Judy's house and her kitten. The fireman's job is done. Down goes the area ladder. The wet hoses are rolled up and go back to the truck, each in its proper place. Now Judy can better understand why firemen are so important. The firemen have done a good job, and now they have to go back to the fire station. On their way back, they follow traffic rules of their town like other cars. No sirens needed now, only a fire bell. And soon they are back at the firehouse, ready to rush out again to protect their community from fires.
This series is really quite something. It's really great. The Encyclopedia Britannica. There's something exciting about it, and they definitely know that it's exciting, but they're also, there's the family that's concerned about what's going on, and the livelihood of themselves and what's going to happen to their property and all that. So it's fascinating. This is another Encyclopedia Britannica film that's called First Date on the Spot. And it's in glorious black and white.
Any severely injured person will develop shock. Shock comes principally because of a depression in circulation and an eventual fall in blood pressure. As the shock deepens, the pulse increases in speed and becomes weaker. Irregular breathing and cold, moist skin are symptoms of shock. If the patient is lying on a cold or a damp floor or the ground, put woolen or some other material under him. First aid for shock is to conserve the body heat of the patient and keep him warm but not hot. Use great care not to move the patient unnecessarily. Notice how the blanket is pulled against the long axis of the victim's body. Do not use heated objects to warm a person who is suffering from shock. His sensations are not normal, and it is easy to burn him. Always have someone call a doctor. When serious shock seems probable, Raise the lower extremities several inches and maintain this elevation. Be reassuring and give your patient the impression that competent, sympathetic hands are doing all that can be done while awaiting the doctor. When bleeding from a wound is severe, elevate the wounded part of the body if possible. Do not touch the wound with the hand or clean material. Think first of pressure. Use a thick layer of sterile gauze or a folded, freshly laundered handkerchief and apply firm pressure with your hand. Bandage the gauze in place. If this treatment does not stop the bleeding, then a tourniquet is necessary. Apply the tourniquet above the wound, allowing a reasonable skin area between it and the wound. Wrap the material twice around the limb and tie a half knot. Place a short stick or something similar on the half knot and tie a square knot over it. Twist the stick just enough to stop the flow of blood completely. Call a physician as soon as possible. And keep the victim quiet. These lines indicate the pathways of the arteries we need to consider in first aid. At 6 principal points, these main arteries lie close to the bones. These are the points where digital or finger pressure on the artery and against a bone may stop bleeding. These points are called pressure points. Occasionally, the application of digital or finger pressure at one of these pressure points is a helpful measure in case of hemorrhage. Here is the proper technique for applying pressure to each of these pressure points. Just in front of the ear against the skull. About an inch forward from the angle of the jaw, where a large branch crosses the jawbone. In the neck, at the side of the windpipe, against the backbone. Behind the inner end of the collarbone, down against the first rib. On the body side of the upper arm, halfway between the shoulder and elbow. In the mid-groin, where the artery passes over the pelvic bone. Remember, always apply the pressure between the injury and the heart for arterial bleeding. The first rule in artificial respiration is to start treatment immediately. To revive infants and small children, mouth-to-mouth artificial respiration is recommended. Tilt the head back to keep the air passage open. Take air in your mouth and force it into the victim's mouth until the chest rises. Then allow the lungs to empty. Be sure to cover the victim's mouth and nose with your mouth. Apply a continuous pressure to prevent the victim's stomach from filling with air. Repeat the cycle about 20 times a minute until normal breathing is restored. The mouth-to-mouth technique can be used effectively on persons of all ages. When used on an older victim, the chin must be held up and forward to keep the airway open, and the nose must be held closed. An alternate way to give artificial respiration is the back pressure arm lift method. Lay the victim on his stomach, bend his elbows, and place his hands one on the other. Keep his head upright, placing his chin on his hands. Place the heels of your hands on an imaginary line running across the shoulders below the armpits. Your thumbs should just touch, and your fingers spread downward and outward. With arms held straight, swing forward slowly so that the weight of your body is gradually brought to bear on the victim. As you rock backwards, do not bend your elbows. Notice that the arm grasp is just above the elbow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Always summon a physician as soon as possible and treat for shock. Check the mouth for obstructions. Don't give up. Continue artificial respiration until natural breathing is restored. A fracture is a break in a bone. Where a fracture is suspected, call a doctor. While waiting for the doctor, splint and prepare the patient for transportation. Place the arm in a normal position. A magazine or newspaper will make a good improvised splint. Be sure it is long enough to extend beyond the joint above and below the fractured bone, and that it is as wide as the limb. Tie the splint securely, but not tight enough to cut off circulation of the blood. All extensive burns should be regarded as open wounds with shock and infection as hazards. The same general pattern should be applied to all burns. Give the victim this first aid treatment. Gently remove loose, protruding bits of clothing in the burn, being very careful not to touch the tissue. After the burn is well exposed, place the dry pad or dressing over the burn so that it covers the area completely. Then bandage the dressing into place. Do the best possible job when applying a dressing, because the tendency in medical practice today is to change dressings infrequently. Wrap the bandage smoothly and evenly. For complete information about first aid, enroll in an American Red Cross first aid class in your community.
I have lots of variations on that, the theme of first aid. And I transferred a film for a film collector friend of mine who had an even earlier version that was in color. It was beautiful. And it was the same type of thing. It was like it set up in this like black area, and so everything seems like they're in some sort of weird limbo in space, and you could probably chroma key something in. Pretty funny. All right, I got one last thing for you. I didn't want that to leave this bad taste in your mouth, so here's Crest.
The museum is proud of this flightless bird dating back 50 million years.
It's great.
Oh, but today's
Dad, I only had one.
one?
Cavity.
Oh, that's splendid. Well, he's proud.
He should be with only one cavity.
Oh, yes, indeed. How did you do it? Well, let's see.
Mine changed to Crest.
Oh, of course. He brushed with Crest.
Are you sure Crest did it?
Well, we tried a lot of toothpaste, but Crest, well, an historic checkup.
What makes Crest so special?
Well, stannous fluoride. Most remarkable discovery. You can't buy a better cavity fighter.
Well, they all have that stand.
Well, definitely not. Of the top 5, only Crest does.
Oh, I knew that, Mary. And Crest is the only one of the 5 accepted by the American Dental Association.
It's got 2 flavors, Dad.
Oh, yes. Regular and mint.
That I knew.
Have checkups, watch treats, and brush after eating with Crest. These are the 5 leading toothpastes. Most families brush with one of them. But how many get stannous fluoride? And you know you can't buy a better cavity fighter than stannous fluoride. This family doesn't get it, nor does this one, or this one, or this one. Only this family gets cavity-fighting stannous fluoride, the Crest family. You've got to have stannous fluoride in the tube to say so on the tube.
I realized that I might have shown those Crest commercials. I can't remember. I didn't write it down, which is shame on me. I maintain a list of what I've shown during these things, and I feel like I showed that, but I'm sorry. Oh well. Crest commercials, you would have seen them thousands of times back in the day. So, and and the reason why I remember this is that the little kid in the museum is Paris Thyman, who plays TV Mike, or Mike TV in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So that's why I remember. Basically, I digitized 13 hours of Crest commercials for an ad archive at Duke University. And at the end of it, I had to switch to Crest because I was so compelled to do it. And it was, I had no option, no choice. So there you go. Thanks everybody for hanging out today. I'm sorry that I'm not live, but those couches are not going to move themselves. But I will be back tomorrow, Wednesday, and so please make comments. Please hit like, hit subscribe, hit notifications, hit blah blah blah, whatever. You can also buy us coffee. Even if I'm not here live, I will still be able to receive your coffee donations. And I might be able to buy coffee wherever I am. And so that's the great thing about that. Also, you can go to avgeeks.com. But we'll see you on Wednesday. And thanks so much for hanging out. Everybody, I hope, has a good rest of the day. As always, love each other. And please rewind. And we will see you again tomorrow. Everybody take care.